Hey, what up, everyone? I'm SinnyCool, and this is EverQuest Project 1999. And today we are on the green server. On the level 7 Shadow Knight, dinging 7 to 8 in this video. We're back at the same camp, but we're going to talk about something else today. We're going to talk about how I got into playing EverQuest. This idea comes from Classic EverQuest, who put up a similar video about a week ago. So go check that out. I mean, watch this one, of course, but after you're done watching this one, go check out Classic EverQuest video. Maybe I'll link it. If it's not linked, he's one of my featured channels, so you can just go to my channel. He's one of my featured channels. Click on his channel and go watch his video about how he got into EverQuest. He wanted me to do this. I wanted to give him like a week to make, I don't want to put out a similar video back to back, but yeah, I'll talk about how I got into playing EverQuest back in the day, and his video is really nice. Like, he obviously took some time to write down some bullet points, and he put in some clips and stuff, and he's good at editing and everything. That's not me right now. Maybe after I move, I'll start learning how to edit better and prepare better and all that stuff. But, for now, I'm just going to do it how I usually do it, off the top of my head. I don't know. We'll go with that. So I got to put myself into that time frame of when this game came out and like what I was doing at the time, and all that business. So what was it? 1999, of course, Project 1999. So it was around then. I don't know if I started playing immediately as soon as the game came out. I doubt it. So it was probably more like late 1999 or early 2000 when I started playing. Just definitely wasn't immediately because I had some friends that told me about the game and they were already playing. They already had characters and stuff, so I couldn't have started playing immediately at 1999. My memory isn't great. I probably ruined myself a little bit in my 20s, but yeah. So I'll try to remember as much as I can. But putting myself in that place, 1999-ish, maybe a little before, a little after. We're talking about what? PlayStation, Dreamcast, Nintendo 64 has been out for a couple years. We're in that era. So Final Fantasy VII was out. Um, on the Dreamcast, I had a Dreamcast, by the way. I did. I had a PlayStation. I got it for Final Fantasy VII. So that was the type of games I liked back then. Was RPGs, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy Tactics, Diablo. But I'd also play like Nintendo 64, like Doom 64, and just Mario and Mario Party if that was out back then, and Blast Corps and Wave Race and all that stuff. I was playing that for sure. I had an N64. I had a PlayStation. Obviously, I was living with my parents. You guys are going to get to know about how old I am, which I've mentioned before. I don't like giving the exact age, my exact social security number, my exact address, and all that. But you should get a pretty good idea of about how old I am through this video and a bunch of other information about me. But yeah, to get into it here, how I got introduced to EverQuest, that's what I was doing at the time. I had different friend groups. It was crazy. Like back in the day, I was one of those people that would hang out with pretty much anybody. And I was never like the most popular of any one group of people, but I was always able to hang out with whoever. So I wasn't like 100% a nerd. I wasn't 100% a jock. I wasn't 100% like a juggalo or a rap person or a skater or whatever it was back in the day. But I hung out with pretty much everybody. And I would come to the defense of anybody that was one of those people if they were getting picked on. That was like me. Um, I played baseball and basketball. Like I was good enough at baseball to make the high school team eventually, but I wasn't like a starter. You know what I mean? So I'd come off the bench. I'd play every once in a while on the high school team. So like summer baseball, I was pretty good. I'd bat like third or fourth, which means you're pretty good. I'd play the outfield. I was pitching sometimes when I was younger. On basketball, I was usually a guard. Pretty good at shooting because I had all these sports friends. So I'm bringing myself back to this time. I'm thinking about the house I lived in with my parents, playing video games in the basement, of course, um, and playing PlayStation, playing Final Fantasy VII, playing Final Fantasy Tactics, playing Gran Turismo, trying to get all the gold trophies on that game, and Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, all that stuff. Killer Instinct. Trying to think of some Dreamcast games, man. It was like I can't even think of that many of them. I don't think I have that many games for it. I think I had like Resident Evil on it, and like you know, not Sonic maybe stuff like that. Well, mostly I was playing like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy Tactics, Diablo, Saga Frontier. You guys ever played that? That was crazy. I played it, beat it. It's a hard RPG. Resident Evil games, Silent Hill games, stuff like that. Those are the kind of things I liked. But I had different groups of friends, basically. Gotta get back to that. I had my jock friends, so that would be like go outside, play basketball, play football, um, play whatever, go golfing, frisbee golf. We would just like do dude perfect type of stuff. I had this friend named Alex, and he lived down the street from me, and I'd ride my bike to his house. He had a giant yard with like a golf cart. So we'd always be like flip the golf carts, and all the batteries would go flying everywhere. We would throw footballs to each other while we were riding in a golf cart, like me, Alex, and Joe. Me and Joe would be in the golf cart. Alex would throw the ball. We would jump out of the golf cart and try to catch it and stuff like that. Dude, perfect kind of stuff. Before they even existed, we would like throw a basketball from halfway across the yard and try to catch it and alley oop dunk it and stuff, like lower the rim. Like he had all kinds of stuff. Like a lot of my friends had a lot of money. I was kind of middle class, but a lot of my friends had a lot of money, so it's pretty fun. Fun times. We'd put slip and slides together. Like instead of having just one, we'd put like two or three of them together and like see how far down we could slide on the slip and slide. Stuff like that. So those are like my sporty friends. Like Alex was a soccer player and he ran track. He wasn't exactly like your prototypical jock. He was kind of a nerdy jock. We had Joe, who was like a basketball player, baseball player on both my teams. Once again, not like a super jock, kind of a nerdy jock. And then I had my crazy juggalo friend who he was really rich. Like he had a giant, pretty much a mansion. He lived like I'd have to go down a street or two, and it was further away than the other friends, but like I had to get driven there, but he was still kind of in my neighborhood. And he just had everything. It was crazy. He had a trampoline. We do backyard wrestling. We would watch ECW. Like I liked wrestling too back in the day. So we would wrestle on his trampoline. We would stay up all night playing WCW versus NWO on N64, do like battle royals and stuff. Reading comic books. I used to like comic books. I used to collect Cable. I always wanted to be a little bit different than everybody. I didn't want to collect Superman or Spider-Man or X-Men or anything like that. I was like X-Force, Cable, Spawn, stuff like that. I never wanted to be like what everybody else was doing. So I'd always do something slightly different and try to find something cool that isn't like what everybody else is doing. I think that's why I get mad when people just flock to the same, whatever. Like find something that's cool on your own instead of just going somewhere where everybody else is going. But yeah, I had that friend. He was like a juggalo. His hair would be purple. He's crazy. Nobody really hung out with him because he was kind of weird. But he wasn't really weird. He just looked weird. He was Mexican. He's like a Mexican dude with like purple hair, and he was just crazy. So, but I befriended him. That's just the type of dude I am. I befriend everybody. I don't just judge you off your first book by its cover or anything. And he ended up being like my coolest friend ever, like my best friend ever. But we would play WCW versus NWO all night. We would backyard wrestle, ECW, yada yada. So that was one of my friends. He's super rich. Then I had the jock friends, Joe, Alex, Adam. There's a bunch of us. We would just get together, play football or basketball. And then I have my like nerdy friends, if you want to call it that. My video game friends, whatever you want to call it. And they're kind of simple. They kind of like ran together. Like the Joe and the Alex were also the video game friends. And we used to do this list where we would beat video games and like write them down and like see how many we could get beat. And we like spend the night at each other's houses and see how many games we could beat and stuff like that. And I remember playing for some reason I remember playing Mischief Makers on Nintendo 64 like all night. It was, I don't know why, but we couldn't beat this one boss, but we were like staying up until we beat it. And I remember it being like 4 in the morning and we finally beat it. And we are all jumping through the roof like, yeah, we finally beat it. Yeah, woo. And then we write it down on the list and, rent a game, beat it, take it back. Stuff like that. So it's pretty fun days. Probably the best. I don't know. Probably, you know how it is. I'm Al Bundy, so those are the best times back in the day. But anyway, Anyway, just getting you in the mood of when it was and stuff. I'm in my basement. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII. I'm playing Gran Turismo. I'm playing Doom 64 and Final Fantasy Tactics and Diablo and Saga Frontier and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm at school. I have this other group of these friends are like super nerdy, right? So they don't do sports. They don't. They're just. Anyway, they're cool though. They're cool. And they start telling me about this game. They start telling me about EverQuest. And I play video games all the time. That's what I do when I'm at home. If I'm not playing sports or I'm not at school, I was playing some sort of video game in the basement, um, on the PlayStation or the Dreamcast or the N64 or even like the NES or the Genesis. Like I had those systems too, and I would just go back and play them. Mike Tyson's Punch Out and Sonic and all kinds of cool stuff. Comic Zone. I'm just saying games now. So these friends at school, they tell me about this game. They're like, hey, there's this game. It's called EverQuest. And they're like, you can do whatever you want. That was their sales pitch to me for this game. They wanted me to play it because there was like 3 of them. I forget their names are like Matt, Adam, and Sean. They were good friends. They like lived next to each other in this whole other neighborhood that was near the school. And I lived in a completely different neighborhood way down the street with, Joe, Alex, Richard, who was the Juggalo dude. And his name was Richard, and he was he's a Juggalo with purple hair. But yeah, so I lived in a completely different neighborhood way down the street. They all lived together. They were like, it was Sean, Adam, and Matt, and they were the ones. We were eating lunch one day at school or something. They were telling me, I was probably bragging to them about beating Mischief Makers or something, or Doom 64, Final Fantasy 7, or hey, Final Fantasy 8 just came out. Are you guys getting it? Somewhere around that time. Final Fantasy Tactics. I was probably talking about one of those games. They're like, yeah, well, they're the type to be like, yeah, well, we play this game called EverQuest, man. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's a big world. You can do whatever you want. You can dance. You can wave at each other. You can get into a group and fight stuff together. And you can cast magic spells. There's dragons and there's flaming swords and you can put on some pants and stuff like that. I'm like, whoa, dude, you can do whatever you want. I've never played a game where you can do whatever you want. And that was like their pitch to me. It's like, you should play it, man. You should play it. You can do whatever you want. What they didn't tell me was that it costs money every month. So I had to get over that hump. And it's on the computer, which I never was a PC gamer. Like, one of my friends had a PC, but we didn't play on it that much. Like, he had a couple games on it. He had, like, Prince of Persia or something, like old games. Like King's Quest, Prince of Persia, Robin Hood, whatever it's called. I don't think it's called Robin Hood, but you know what I'm talking about. And then like this one game called like, oh, I forget what it was, but Rocket Jockey. Anybody know that game? Dude, it was so cool. Remember Rocket Jockey? Nobody remembers that. It was like an obscure game, but you would like tie each other up. You know how you do it in Star Wars, where you tie up the I don't even know what they're called because I'm not a Star Wars nerd, but I used to play the game, Rogue Squadron or whatever it was called, where you tie up their legs and then they fall down. Well, this game was kind of like that. You had these you rode on this. It's called Rocket Jockey, so you're basically riding on a rocket. Then you have like a grappling hook that you shoot at each other. Then you can like attach it to somebody else, and then like if you're both going like a million miles an hour in like this arena, and then like if you like somebody else is in between you and the other person and the cable hits them, like it'll lop their head off and blood goes everywhere. It was crazy. It was a cool game. That's how I remember it anyway. Maybe that's not how it was, but that's how I remember it. It was freaking cool. But we didn't really play on the computer, so this was foreign to me, like gaming on the computer. So the friends were telling me about it. That's the thing they didn't mention though. It's on the computer. It costs money every month. But they were telling me like their sales pitch was you can do whatever you want. So I'm like, really? Can you do this? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, can you do that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, can you get on top of a building and pee off the side of it? They're like, well, not everything, but you can do a lot of cool stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have to check it out. Then it happened at the same time, like, my dad was, I used to go to my dad's house, so I had my mom, my stepdad, that's where I lived, and then I would go visit my dad every other weekend for very short, like, I don't see him anymore, like, anyway, it was a very short period of time, but it was in this same time period, it was like from 98 to 2001 or 99 to whatever. For a couple years there, I went every other weekend to his house. And it just happened to that he played this game too. So I had these friends at school telling me about it. My dad was playing it. And they were really young when they had me. So my dad was probably like, I don't even know what to. He was in his probably 30s. So it wasn't like he was old or something. He was playing EverQuest. And he kind of introduced me to Doom and computer gaming and stuff like that, other than like the friends at school. So I remember him playing it, going over there every other weekend, seeing him playing it, but I wasn't super interested. I'd be in the living room playing Dreamcast or PlayStation or when did Sega Saturn come out? Because I remember Sega Saturn for some reason. But like D and Resident Evils and Silent. We used to play scary games at his house for some reason. It was cool though. Like your mom don't let you do it. Your dad lets you listen to the curse word music and let you watch the scary games or let you play the scary games because you go over there only every other weekend, so you get to go do cool stuff that you're not supposed to do at your mom's house, type of deal. But yeah, he played it too, so it was all like lining up. Everything. These friends at school were playing it, telling me about it, telling me I could do whatever I want. I'm asking them if I could pee off the side of a building for some reason, and they say no, but yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. Pretty much everything else. I'm like, sweet, sounds cool. I might look into it. And then happens to be that my dad is playing it. Or maybe I even told him about it from the friends at school, and then he got it, and then he started playing it. But I don't know. I don't know how that lined up, who told who what. But that's the two places where I saw it first. My dad's house every other weekend. The friends at school that were super nerdy. So I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just trying to give you like who was the people that told me. And how did I get it, man? I had to convince my mom that we were going to pay for a game every month. We needed the internet, which the internet was not like a huge thing back in the day. You know, me and the Juggalo dude used to go on AOL like in chat and just like say the craziest stuff we could say. What was that called? AOL. You go on there and you just like there's a chat room and you just dude, I could say so many crazy things that I don't really want to say on the internet, but you know, you just say the craziest things you could say on the chat board and see what everybody else says. It's like the AOL Messenger thing. We used to go on there every once in a while. It wasn't. We'd rather be backyard wrestling or playing games, but every once in a while he'd be like, "Hey, you want to check out the internet?" I'm like, "Sure." What do you do? Oh, you just say crazy stuff to each other and see what other people say. Like that's sweet. They're there right now, like live. It's like, yeah, they just type right back to you. So that was the computer stuff. But we did have a computer. So we had a computer. It was in the dining room. Like nobody touched it, but we did have one. I'm like, okay, we have a computer. It costs a certain amount a month. You have to go buy the game, and then you have to pay again. So I'm trying to convince my mom. I think I had a job at the time, maybe. Like I'd always had a job since I was like 12 or 10 or something. I was at least a paper boy or, working at a grocery store or my grandfather had a business that I eventually worked there for a little bit. So I was always working, so I always had money. So I'd be like, hey, I could pay for it. At least I can buy the game. I can help with the payments. We can get the internet. Maybe we didn't even have the internet. I don't know, but we had to get the internet too. You don't think about that. Like, imagine convincing your mom back in the day. That was probably the biggest hurdle, right? To play this game, you had to have a computer. You had to have the internet, you had to buy the game, and then you had to pay monthly for the game. You got to convince when normally they just buy you a system, they buy you a game, and then that's it. And then they don't have to deal with anything else. You're in the basement playing your games. Maybe your friends come over. Maybe you go to your friend's house. They don't have to worry about it again until you want to buy another game or something. But this thing, you have to have the internet, which costs money every month. You have to pay for the game, which costs money every month. You're in the freaking dining room, yelling at the computer, and not in the basement anymore. So it took some convincing. It probably took a little while to convince my parents to even get the game, but eventually I get it. Well, actually, I think I played it at my dad's first. So my friends were playing it. That one group of friends. By the way, in this video, it's just the same camp. It's me dinging from 7 to 8. I think Trey, the paladin, Electrona gets to like level 9. So spell level, baby. And then eventually I get to my spell level, but not in this video. So I do have my spells right now, just in real time, which is cool. I have a little pet. I have a dot. I have a life tap. I have like invisibility versus undead. I have a steel strength, so it's pretty sweet. But yeah, I think the first time I played it was actually at my dad's house on the weekend when I went over there for the weekend, and he was playing it, and he's like, "Hey, you want to try this?" And I'm like, "Sure." So my first character ever was on his account at his house, and it was an enchanter. It was an enchanter, an erudite enchanter, and his name was Compton. I used to listen to rap. Hey, don't make fun of me because it became the most popular music ever. I was ahead of my time. So my character's name was Compton, and I was a erudite enchanter. You know, kind of cringy, embarrassing, but whatever. I'm letting you know stuff I've never let people know before. And I was horrible. Yeah, I was horrible at it. I didn't know any of the buttons. I didn't know what to do. But he was over my shoulder helping me a little bit. And I picked the worst starting area probably. It's freaking dark. Um, freaking dark over there. I don't even remember much about it because I only got that enchanter to like level 8 or something like that. Finally got spells and stopped playing. Like I stopped going to his house. So I stopped playing over there. So that character went poof. And I think I got him to like a level 8 maybe. But that's when I started playing. But then the friends were still talking about it. They had druids, of course. They all had druids. I don't know why, but all three of them were druids. I'm like, why are all three? Eventually, like nowadays, I'm like, why were all three of them druids? Like, well, you think they'd pick something else? But they were kids. I was a kid. They all wanted to be druids. Maybe Lord of the Rings or something. I don't know. When did that come out? I'm sure the books have been out for a million years. So maybe they were Lord of the Rings people and they wanted to be druids and hobbits. They're all hobbit druids, like all three of them. If I remember correctly, I think maybe one of them was a rogue eventually, and one of them was a mage eventually. Like I remember that, but at first they were all hobbit druids, like little like halfling druids. So I play at my dad's, the enchanter. I make a character, and then I go to their house. And I'd never like hung out with these people that much. Like at school, we were friends. They were my video game friends that I didn't live near. But I started going over to their house, this one dude, Sean's house, and the other two would come over, and they had multiple computers in like this basement area. It was like a basement area, but it was like a finished basement type of area. It was like those houses where they have like it's an upstairs and a downstairs, but it's not really a basement. It's like a bi-level. Is that what it's called? Where you walk in, you can either go downstairs or it's like a bi-level. So the bottom level had the computers, and they had like at least two of them, at least two computers sitting right next to each other, so two people could play. And the other two would go play something else on the TV in the other room. Like there's a small computer room, and then there's this other room with like a TV and a console. So two people could play EverQuest while two other people played whatever else on the console. So that's where my second place I started playing, I'm pretty sure, was at their house on their characters. Like I didn't make my own character. They just let me play their druids, which they had to be level 30, 40, 50 because I remember running around and I don't know why. I can't believe it wasn't Kunark. No way, because I swear I started in Classic, but maybe I did start in Kunark now that I think about it. I don't think so, though. I can't remember. I think I'm thinking of a later date of when I went to their house and played. But anyway, I tried it at their house too. So I'm trying it at my dad's. I'm trying it at their house. I'm playing their druids, or they're showing me at least. I don't know if I was playing yet playing their characters yet. Excuse me. But eventually, I convinced my mother to get the game, and I'll pay, and it'll be fine. We need the internet anyway. Everybody's getting the internet. Like that was easy. Like they paid for the internet because everybody had it anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my butt. Maybe we already had the internet, but it wasn't as like everybody didn't have it back in the day. Not every single person. They probably had it, but they weren't using it. So I think we had to upgrade the computer a little bit, maybe. Whatever. I had to convince them to do certain things to be able to play the game. And then I buy the game, which I swear I had the classic box and everything, so I don't think it was Kunark. But install the game, pay the game, put it on a credit card or something every month. I forget how much how much did it cost, y'all? Like a $10 a month or something, maybe 15. Can't remember, but convince them to do that. I would give them the money every month from my job, whatever it was at the time, paper boy, grocery store, whatever it was, and start playing and in the dining room in my parents' house. But I was only allowed to play for like an hour or two a day. They put a time limit on it. They didn't at first, right? But then they seen me playing for hours and hours and hours, and they started putting time limits on it. And I had a younger brother. He's like a year and a half younger than me. He's almost 2 years younger than me, but he's not. You know, he's like was born like a month before me or something like that. But and he's born in July. I was born in August, not a month before me. You know what I'm saying? He's like a year and a half, whatever. He's a year or two younger than me, so he's close in my age. So we were always fighting and stuff. And so he started to get kind of jealous or whatever that I was on the computer, even though he never wanted to be. You know how little brothers are. They just want to do whatever you're doing. So I'm on the computer playing EverQuest. I don't even remember what my first character was on this. Like, I remember my first character at my dad's house. And I remember playing my friend's character, they're druids. But what was my first character on the dining room computer? I'm trying to remember. So long ago. I guess it was my troll warrior. It must have been. Because that's the one I took all the way. So I guess my troll warrior was probably my first character. His name was Rhino. Don't remember the server at all. I was never tied to my server. I don't know how people even remember their server. Like, what? How do you guys remember your server? I just picked a random server. I don't know what it was called. I think it started with the A, maybe? That's all I can remember. I can't even remember what server I was. Whatever server my friends were on. So I didn't, like, pick a server. They said, hey, join this server. That's where we are. And I said, okay, I'm going to join that server. And I've forgotten now what server it was. But I joined their server. I made a character. I made a troll warrior. His name was Rhino. Eventually, he got a surname. It was Gorefest. So ECW. That's where I got it from. If you don't know what ECW is, it's Extreme Championship Wrestling. So, man, you could probably pinpoint exactly. So whenever Rhino was in ECW is when I started playing my own character at. So I could probably figure that out. Because he wasn't there immediately. He came in later. But I think he was probably there in 99, 2000. So anyway, Rhino was the name of the Troll Warrior. And eventually was Rhino Gorefest. Because Rhino and ECW would do the gore, which was the spear. And I just wanted it I didn't want it to be Rhino Gore. So I did Rhino Gorefest. And yeah, it was my Troll Warrior. That's how I started. In the dining room at my parents' house. And eventually, you start playing a little bit too much. Your little brother's getting jealous, so they started giving my little brother a couple hours. Like, they'd say, hey, you can play for an hour, then he can play for an hour. Then you can play, and then you're done for the day. Like, that's how they started doing it. I'm like, what? I can't play this game for just an hour? That's not how you play this game. So, and then he would get his stupid hour. He would do nothing. He would just sit there and blow up the mines on the mine game or something, or I don't know. He didn't do anything. Like, I think he tried EverQuest and then he didn't like it. He was too impatient. He's a redhead, so he was a crazy maniac that was impatient. So there's no way he was going to play EverQuest. I don't know what he was thinking. He just wanted to do what I was doing. So eventually he doesn't care anymore, and I get his hour. So now I got 2 hours, and that's pretty good. That's a pretty good amount of time. He's like, hey, you can play when I was supposed to play. And then no one was contesting me, and then I probably played even longer. And eventually I convinced them that I could play a little bit longer, as long as I get my homework done, as long as I'm, doing my job or whatever it was at the time, my paper route, that I could play. On the weekends, you can play for this long. On the weekdays, you can only play till this time. Stuff like that. But I'm right in the middle. I'm like right in the dining room. So everybody's walking to the kitchen or in the living room watching TV, and I'm in there screaming at the game, pounding on the keyboard probably. And I could see why they didn't want me playing it for 5 hours a day in the middle of the house in the dining room. So hopefully you like this story. I don't know. I'm just letting you know what was going on at the time and how I got into it. But that's pretty much how I got into it. Going forward, eventually I go over to the friend's house and they have their druids at high level. I think this was eventually Kunark, which I don't know when Kunark came out. Was it like a year or two after the classic? Probably sooner, huh? Anyway, Kunark comes out. I go to my friend's house. I play their druids. We do the thing where they got two computers in this one tiny room, and then they got like a couch and a game, like a console. The other two people could play on that. And they let me play their druids, and so I'm in. I remember being in Dreadlands, like kiting. Kiting, they're telling me how to kite, like snare them and dot them and just run away with so, and that's how they would do it anyway. So it was pretty fun. And then I join a guild and stuff, and I go raiding eventually. Like I get my warrior, my troll warrior to max level. I remember being in like Guck a lot, Karnor's Castle a lot, Kazakh Thul a decent amount. I remember like being in the throne room of Kazakh, and that was a desired place. Like right now, if you go on p99 to Kazakh Thul, that place is always open. Nobody's ever there, right? Barely ever, unless they're doing the alligators or like there's a couple other things. But if you go to Kazakh Thul now, there's like 5 people there max. Back in the day, people were there. This was during live, like everybody was there. I was in a guild. You know, you would sit in the corner of the throne room. People would pull the gorillas, pull the like. It's pretty fun. What else do I remember from back in the day? You know, Guck just doing like Assassin Supplier. Karnor's Castle doing right courtyard, left courtyard by the moat. Just being in Dreadlands outside of Karnor's Castle, fighting out there. I remember being in Blackburrow for some reason. I think I ended up remaking my enchanter. Like I remember, like I had this nostalgia for my first ever character, my erudite enchanter, that I made at my dad's house. So I remade it. I think his name was Aftermath. Once again, no, it was Compton Aftermath. So what was the other? I don't know. I don't remember what my other enchanters. Maybe I remade them and just made it the same name. But I remember being in Blackburrow, Nullfangs, going pretty deep in there. With the enchanter because that was my second character. So I had a troll warrior. I took him to max level. I joined a guild. I, as far as raiding goes, I didn't. I saw Plane of Hate, I think, and I saw Plane of Sky, but I don't remember. Like in Plane of Sky, I just remember dying pretty much immediately. I got to see it, and then I like died, and then I was done. And then I remember Plane of Hate, I think it was, went going decently well. We were at the I don't remember how it goes, but I remember it's like standing in a corner and people were pulling stuff to us and I was jumping in whenever I could. But I wasn't the main tank. I was probably the last tank that joined there. Um but yeah, that's what I remember for real. Eventually made a monk. Uh and I would do like PvP. I would like duel people with it and so I had a troll warrior max level rated barely, like poked his head. I remember dragons, fighting dragons, I feel like. That was like the main rating I would do was the dragons. But like the planes I just popped my head in and saw them once or twice. I don't think I ever got anything from the planes. I remember getting something from dragons, I feel like, unless I'm confusing that with WoW. So I got all this like mixed I played EverQuest Online Adventures, and WoW. So sometimes the memories mix together. You know what I mean? Especially like from back in the day. So it's hard to remember sometimes what's from where. Like the dragons, especially. Like I can't remember exactly. Was that WoW or was that EverQuest when I was fighting that big dragon in that cave? I think it was EverQuest, but I don't know. But anyway, from there, I eventually I can't remember much else from original EverQuest. I remember Kunark. I remember Valius came out, but I was like I ended up not playing anymore. Like I got Valius. I bought it, but I never played it. Something like that. Like I played Kunark pretty good. I played Karnor's Castle quite a bit. I kind of like, you know how I am I stick in the same spot all the time. I don't explore very much. So that's why it's cool now. I can see other zones that I never got to see before. But I was just like in Dreadlands, in Karnor's Castle, like all the time. I don't know why I didn't go anywhere else. Or I was in Guck, in Oasis, in Southern Row, Northern Row, the tunnel, all the time. Like I don't know, I didn't move around a lot. As a troll warrior, I don't know. I just kind of stayed in the same spots looking for group and joining groups and becoming the tank and pooling. I remember pooling Carnor's Castle was super fun. Remember pooling and Guck was super fun. Pooling's so fun if you've never done it. What else did I want to say? Then Enchanter, I remember going to. Oh man, maybe I've been to Seb before because I remember this crazy time. Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very vague memory of like doing crowd control in some dungeon that I can't even remember what dungeon it was. I think it was like a Kunark or maybe it was a Valius dungeon. Like maybe I played once in a Valius dungeon, but I don't know. I can't even remember what it was. But I remember being in a dungeon and just doing crowd control and doing pretty good at it. And I remember I went to Carnor's with my enchanter, did crowd control there. I was never like a charming enchanter. I was a grouping enchanter that would and you wouldn't believe it today because I've lost all my skills. But yeah, and then I was a monk. I remember dueling people with my monk. I don't remember much else from that. Um, but yeah, eventually I start playing EverQuest online adventures because I wanted to. The dining room thing was like getting annoying. I didn't want to be in the middle of the house in the dining room with people yelling at me about why are you still playing that game. So eventually I was like, "Oh, I can play on a console in my room, in my bed. I can play EverQuest." I'm like, "Sign me up, dude." So, EverQuest Online Adventures comes out. I start playing that in my room, in my bed with the controller. I had a Shadow Knight. Shout out to Thuggish. That was his name too back in the day, Thuggish. But he was a troll. Troll Shadow Knight, Thuggish, back in the day, EQOA. Don't remember much from that game at all. That's when I was starting to like talk to girls and stuff, and I played pretty heavy, but after a year or two, I started talking to girls. So maybe I'll do another video telling you about it's like a EverQuest slash first date type of video. Maybe I'll tell you about that. Maybe I'll save it for. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I started playing EQOA, had a Shadow Knight. Got it to like 55-ish. I don't know if I got it to max level. I remember like there was this zone with like sand and like these giant worms. They're called dreadnoughts, right? Anybody remember that? But I'm totally like spacing on anything else with that game. I remember something called like a dreadnought. And that's the only thing I can remember. Then eventually WoW, of course. WoW. WoW gets me in big trouble eventually. Maybe we could talk about that one day. I don't know why you'd want to hear about WoW if we're playing EverQuest. It's an MMORPG. Um, I used to drive to my grandmother's house in a different state, Kentucky, just so I could play WoW all night because my parents wouldn't let me. I can't. I guess I just gave up my age probably right there, but it is what it is. Um. Anyway, I'd spend the night just because I could play all night. She didn't care, and my parents did care. They didn't want me playing all night in the dining room screaming. My grandmother didn't care, so I would just say, "Hey, I want to go to Grandma's house," and I'd go over there. They would drive me to Kentucky or whatever, and let me stay the weekend. And eventually, I was probably driving myself too, but I don't. I think I remember like driving there, so I must have been at least 15 at the time. But I don't know if I got into WoW immediately. I was still playing EverQuest and EQOA. But yeah, I remember driving eventually to Kentucky to play WoW all night. Because I was actually like I got further in WoW than I actually got in EverQuest. But I remember EverQuest way more fondly than I do WoW. Like I like WoW and everything. I think I just dinged. I'm about to ding something like that on here. Thinking about 10 minutes on the video here. I'm about to ding. But we're doing this camp for a bit. But yeah, playing all night. I was a dwarf priest. I got really lucky, and that was a super desired like race class combo for Molten Core, which was like the first dungeon you would go and raid on WoW Classic Vanilla. It's Molten Core. It was like the second or third boss would do this fear, and if I would buff everybody with Fear Ward, and then they would not get feared, and really helped with like the second or third boss in Molten Core. I remember that quite fondly and vividly. Um, Eventually Blackwing Lair. Like we would clear Molten Core I got every single piece of equipment from Molten Core on my Dwarf Priest. Then we started going to Blackwing Lair, and I don't remember. I remember it, but I just remember like the first two bosses. We were starting to do Blackwing Lair, like we would clear up to like the second or third boss, and but we couldn't beat like the fourth or whatever. And I only went there like 2, 3 times. I didn't. I got like 1 or 2 pieces of tier 2. Maybe I went more than 1 or 2 or 3 times, but anyway, I only got 1 or 2 pieces of tier 2. But I had full tier 1, and I was starting to put on some tier 2. But then girls, driving, girls, a job, everything gets in the way. Then I kind of like come back around to it even after I move out and move out with my girlfriend, my fiance, whatever, and I'm still playing WoW, which got me into some trouble because playing way too much, but it was all good in the end. Anyway, I think I'm gonna cut it there. If you guys have any questions, put it in the comments. But man, those were the days. It's like that's why I make myself Al Bundy on Discord. I feel like those are the funnest times ever. And right after that was really fun. That was super fun. And if I could go back in time, that's where I would go. I would go right there in that basement. I'll go right there in that basement with that PlayStation, that N64, and that Dreamcast, and I'd probably relive those 10 years or whatever up until I don't know when, up until I stopped playing WoW, maybe right around then. I still had fun after that, but those were the days. Those were the days, man. Those were the days. Back in the days, writing down video games we beat Dude Perfect in. I broke my arm playing basketball. I remember that. See if I can remember anything else that was cool. Let's go on to the crate. Well, I flew to Arizona. I flew to Arizona when I was a teenager to go to my buddy's house. Like the juggalo rich guy with the purple hair. He ended up moving to Arizona. Like I said, he was Mexican, and his family lived out there. His dad was like a big time drug dealer or something. So the mom and him were running away from the dad. The dad was starting to get into trouble with the police. Yeah, I had no idea. I was just a kid. So I was going to their house. My parents would probably kill me right now. I was going to their house, doing whatever I wanted. But I never even saw the dad. He was always gone. But eventually I find out that the dad is like some crazy drug kingpin. Supposedly, I don't know. But they did run away to Arizona. Like, they ran away to Arizona, so I believe it. But then I fly to Arizona because he was like my best friend ever. And remember playing Diablo 2, I think, over there in Arizona, and doing the trampoline business again, jumping on it. Remember, like, just it was so hot, but it wasn't humid. Like, they had rocks instead of grass. We didn't really go. We went to the mall. The girls were way different there. Like, they all looked way different. It was crazy. I don't even want to say like what I'm. But anyway, there was rocks instead of grass. The girls looked different. We pretty much stayed home. Played Diablo 2 and wrestled on the trampoline and like hit each other with chairs, threw each other off the trampoline. Pile drive each other's heads into the ground, in between the springs. Break the trampoline. We actually did break it one time. But yeah, that's all I got, man. You guys learned a little bit more about me today. If you have any questions, if you want me to talk about anything else, let me know in the comments. I'm trying to think. I loved RPGs. That led me to talking about it at school. I went to my dad's every other weekend. He played games. He had a computer. He had the internet. He had all that stuff. I don't know how it happened, but the friends at school plus the dad together like influenced me to get the game. My mom let me play it, make a character, pee off the roof. Eventually I'm peeing off the roof in Norath. But yeah, that's it for today. Like, share, subscribe, consider joining. It helps a lot. Tell your good about the channel, comment below. I think I have a ding here somewhere if you want to see it. Uh, right here somewhere. Ding to 8, and then off video. I've been doing the same camp, and I dinged a 9, and I get my spells. And now I got a little pet running around with me. I got a dot. I got a life tap. I got all that business. But yeah, it's just I think some people get the wrong impression of me. Like I was the everyman that hung out with everybody. You know, I wasn't some popular kid. I was popular in that I hung out with everybody, and everybody accepted me. The jocks accepted me. The popular kids accepted me. You know, the skaters accepted me. The nerds accepted me. Because if somebody was attacking anybody that I liked, I would step in. So I don't care who it is. There's this kid named Peter who was super short. He wasn't even that nerdy. He was just really short and like a new kid. Like these two dudes were trying to pick on him, and I would step in. You know, somebody's picking on one of my friends, I'm stepping in. I don't care if it's my nerdiest friend that there is with glasses and a pocket protector. I don't care. I'm stepping in. Nobody's harming one of my friends. You know what I'm saying? So that was me. I don't know what y'all call that. I always call myself the bodyguard of the nerds, but I don't know if that rubs anybody the wrong way, but that's how it was. I would hang out. I'd hang out, do sports. I wasn't the best dude on the team, but I wasn't bad either. I was good enough to make a high school team, right? But not good enough to like start every game. And then I could hang out with anybody I wanted. It wasn't like I was getting all the girls or anything, but you know, by high school I was you know, at least talking to them and doing stuff with them. But you know, while the other, I got to tell that story maybe one day. If you want to hear that story, let me know. It was pretty funny. It involves EverQuest and a date and girls and trying to introduce one of my EverQuest friends. I'm trying to help a brother out. You know what I mean? It didn't go very well though. So if you want to hear that, let me know. I don't think it's, you know, it'd probably be pretty short, but it's kind of funny. And I'm gonna get out of here. I ding. Look, I ding. Level 8. Bang. I get 9 IRL, and we're heading towards 10 on this Shadow Knight, which you guys seem to like. We got spells now, so remember I'm moving. I'm moving right now. Like today is Wednesday. By next Wednesday, I will not be where I'm at. And you know, I'm making it a little bit dramatic, but it's gonna happen. Like it's mostly happening on Sunday and Monday of you know the upcoming Sunday and Monday. But I've been packing. I've been taking stuff to storage. I've been reserving a U-Haul and switching over the electricity and yada yada yada. So it's all stressful and just can't wait till it's over. And I'm hoping to do more content once I move. I'm hoping that's the way it works out because I'm gonna go hard. I got to. It is what it is. But yeah, I'll see you guys. Have a good one. I'm gonna cut it there. I'll just keep talking and talking and talking and talking and repeating myself and whatever. So yeah, we'll see you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Go check out Classic EverQuest featured channels. He did the same. He gave me this idea. His is probably way better than mine. So if you're making it to this part, you know, put in the comments that you went to his channel and you watched because he has editing skills. He wrote down notes probably and he told a story. And here I am just doing it off the top of my head, my top of my Swiss cheese brain head. So yeah, see you guys. You're the best. Peace out. Maybe next Wednesday. I know I keep saying stuff and keep the video going, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do one next Wednesday. So we might miss one Wednesday. If we miss 2, I'll be surprised. We definitely won't miss 3 Wednesdays. So hang in there. I might miss a week or 2, but I will be back. So just hang in there. Thank you so much. Peace out.